Welcome back to Norrath. So I hope you all have been enjoying the version 1.3 world download that was released in the last episode. But now that that is out, I am getting the itch to start a new project, and that is what we are going to do today. And for that, we will actually be heading off to the continent of Kunark. And the reason being that I have been building in this world for quite a while, but most of my efforts have been confined to about 3 continents. I've done a little bit on Velius. But Kunark has a ton of stuff down there that needs to be built, and I haven't done hardly anything there. And it is time to head on down there. And we are going to take the long route around. Now, in the last episode, I said that I think the only way to get to Kunark was to take the wizard portals. I was wrong about that. I forgot that there is a druid ring that I actually placed in the Dreadlands as well, right beside the wizard portal. And that is what we're going to use over here. And we're going to go to the Dreadlands and then go overland until we arrive at the future site of the shortly to be constructed Ixar city of Cabelas. And I'm really excited to build Cabelas. It's going to be done in an Egyptian theme. Let's see, Dreadlands. Where is the portal for the Dreadlands? There we go, right here in the middle. So we are going to be traveling to the Dreadlands. And so that you can have your bearings, I'm going to put up a map on the screen so you can see where we are now and where we are going. We have teleported here to the Dreadlands. Now, Kunark is a rather hot and dry continent, sitting mostly along the equator. It does have some lush green rainforest areas, but a lot of it is somewhat arid, and it's a very hostile place. A perfect home for the reptilian Ixar, as they are a reptilian species. So now, over here, this is going to be the future site of the Combine Spires that will take us to whenever I add the Moon of Luckland in fairly shortly. I'm going to put that around here. I'm actually thinking about changing the design. In EverQuest, it was sort of like these spires, but a lot bigger. However, I'm thinking that this would actually be an ancient Shisar site of the snake people. So I'll probably put like a big pyramid here or something like that. Something in an Egyptian theme, and then it would have been co-opted and reactivated by the Combine later on. Is how I think that would go. But anyway, so you will notice around here all the mountains are quite red, and that is because they're made primarily of granite. It's a big terrain change from the previous 3 continents. Only some of the mountains around here have snow on them. Only the really high ones. Some of them don't even have that on there at all. I think we are somewhere around here in the Frontier Mountains, I think. That looks like Skyfire Mountains on the left over there. We actually want to go over the Dreadlands. Take a look at Skyfire while we're here, though. I haven't really done any building in the volcanic areas that I have constructed. But over here in this mountain, this is going to be the tower, not the tower, the temple of Vishon, I think, or maybe it's the Ring of Scale temple. There's one on Velius that's like this. I always get it mixed up. But as you can see here, this is quite an active place. We have a big lava river flowing out from the caldera, filling out the lava lake here. And it empties out into the ocean over there as well. We have some roads around here. I think, let's actually take the northern route to get over here to the Field of Bone and to Cabelas. So because this is a volcanic area, I have a lot of volcanic ash over here. It's mostly made of obsidian, soul sand, and netherrack. A lot like the Nether, except in the overworld. And that sort of transitions out into this area over here, roughly called the Over There, what this is called. We're going to have another little fortress that we build over there somewhere. Over here, we have one of the largest, this is actually the largest canyon that I have made in the world. It's sort of got a Grand Canyon vibe to it. Sort of what I went for. Down here, we will be placing various tombs for the XR someday. They have a lot of tombs that are constructed down here. Sort of like their version of the Valley of the Kings, I think. But it is quite large. It goes off in a couple of directions over here. And if we keep going this way over this little ridge, we should come into Worthless Woods. And from there, that will lead us over into the Dreadlands, not the Dreadlands, the Field of Bone, which is where we want to end up. Some pretty trees over here, if I do say so. I wish Minecraft had a big fall forest biome. That's an obvious thing I thought they would have added a long time ago, but I haven't seen it yet, so. Well, let's see, let's continue heading through the mountains over here. Kunark has quite a lot of mountains on it. We are in a green area. Oh, and here we are. Okay, so this is going to be a part of Cabelas. The city has a lot of canals in it. It has mostly canals instead of roads, actually. We are going to have some roads. I'm not actually sure about keeping the canals or not. I mean, the layout needs to change a little bit. I basically took this from the in-game maps when I was terraforming this little mountain valley in here. There are two valleys that Cabelas is built into. Here's the larger one. I'm thinking about taking out the center one, the center ridge along here that divides east and west Cabelas. And doing that just so we can have more room inside the city. I'm undecided on that. I think I'm going to sort of chop this out and this out over here and see how it looks. It might be better. It will give us quite a bit more room here in the center for maybe some large building that would be quite impressive down there, I think. Over here, let's actually take a look at the Field of Bone. This is updated, brand new, from the first time I showed this area way back like 2 years ago, I think. This has been updated with my new hydrothermal terrain. I went back and changed it in World Painter and copied and overwrote the entire thing in this map over here. Of course, since I haven't built anything over here to date, even though that's about to change, it was fairly easy to do. So let's spend some time in here. So this place is created, it used to be a nice fertile plain, but because of some changing things underground, this hot spring formed. And from time to time, it periodically overflows this little basin here. And it will gush hot water laden with noxious chemicals all through the plain here. And since it'll put a lot of water, but it won't do it for a long time, so the water will quickly dry up in the arid climate, and it will leave behind all of all the noxious chemicals that were suspended in the water. They get left on here on these sort of little salt flats. A lot of sulfur down there, and there are some incrustations of salt around the corners here, or rather around the shore of the Field of Bone. And it's called the Field of Bone because, well, you know, noxious chemicals, everything that gets caught in here pretty much dies. And I'm going to be putting a lot of big skeletons and whatnot, sort of decorate the place with actual bones. Since we have bone blocks in Minecraft, I can do that. So it can be the actual field of bone. The water that doesn't stay down here in the plain, it flows out over here and enters the sea just over here. And you can see that right there. It forms a little delta over here with that. But anyway, I think that is enough looking at the field of bone. This was dressed up as a mesa biome originally. But since I've gotten a little bit better at World Painter since I made the original area, as far as making these sort of custom terrains and things, I wanted to come back and update this. And so I have done here. I hope you like it. I'm quite pleased with it myself. We're going to have a lot of fun building things out here, I think. But anyway, let's get back to Cabelas. So, I wanted to come over here and show you all of this before it had anything built on it, so that you will get an idea of all the work and everything that I am doing to bring the area, sort of to make it a habitable city. Some of the things I think I'm going to do, we're going to have to put 2 city gates. There's going to be a large gate over there. And I think along the walls here, I may come around here and plane some of these little hills back. Haven't decided about that. There's going to be another gate over here. I think it's over here. Maybe it's over there. Yeah, so this is going to be an entrance from the field of bone over here. And this one heads off to the Swamp of No Hope, which is just over that mountain there. But as of the time of recording all this, I wanted to show just everything to you before I did anything here. So you can see the before and after. And I'm going to, of course, be doing a lot of this work in MC Edit. So I think I will get started on that. And after I have made a few decisions about what to do in the city, I'll bring you back in and show you everything that has been done. Alright, I've done the terraforming I talked about. I actually went back into World Painter to the original Norrath file, and I sort of planed down everything in World Painter and sort of resculpted these mountains around here. I kept the canals in the middle of the city. I think I'm going to keep these, but not in this configuration. I mean, they're going to be roughly in this configuration, but the exact place and the size of these, that needs to change. Over here, I think when I originally terraformed this like 2 years ago, I thought that Cabelas would be like a city set in sort of like 2 canyons and deep in the mountains. But since then, I built a couple of cities in Norrath, and I already know roughly how much real estate I need for it, and that was not enough. So I've come in here and I've roughly doubled everything. I've made all these walls sort of here straight so that I can come in and I can paste in the wall segments along here of the city. I already have the wall segments built, so we'll be seeing those shortly, probably in the next clip. And I redid the entrances over here. So we're going to have a gateway over here, a gateway over there. And the city is going to be a little bit closer to the field of bone out here. But we're still going to have hills bordering on the sides here for defensive purposes. And of course, the mountains to the north and the south of the city are roughly the same. I have just planed these back and sort of squared them off so I can put in the wall segments. And if I go sort of in the middle around here, we can see that the render range is just about enough to get in all the sections of the city, so that's good. That means I can see everything in the city from a central point, and that's going to be a good size for the city itself, because it is going to be the biggest city that is not in ruins on Kunark. So I needed to have more space than was here before, and it more clearly borders the Lake of Ill Omen out on the side here. And we're going to have another entrance down over here and probably one over there as well. So yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on that, and I think I will start putting in the wall segments and everything with MC Edit next. And that's just going to involve a lot of copy and paste work, just turning the corners, installing the towers and the gatehouses and everything. It's just kind of boring. So I'm going to skip over that, and the next clip, I will show you the completed wall sections of the city. Okay, it's been roughly 2 weeks since the last clip, and I have been building Cabelas. As I've said, I put in the walls here. I'm standing on one of the gatehouses, and I'm in a level with you. I may have gotten just a little bit carried away. Okay, just perhaps a tiny bit carried away. Okay, I got extremely carried away. I have been furiously building the city of Cabelas behind me here, so let me just break this down step by step, and let's take a look at everything that I've done. Alright, so let's start with the walls that I said I was going to put in. So we can see that I have a gatehouse here out in the Field of Bone. It is flanked, of course, by two rather large Ixar pharaoh statues, one on either side. They're partially buried because, as I've said, the Field of Bone periodically floods about once a year for about a month. Over here we have the wall segments that I placed. As you can see, the wall segments themselves are very modular. In other words, this is one module of a wall segment, and all I do to build these is in MC Edit. I will copy and paste them one right after another in a big line to make a wall, and periodically I will place in one of these tower modules here. Of course, we have just a couple of gatehouses as well. And on the other side of some of the gatehouses, they've all got a little bit of a different design. But we do have a colonnade here with the fan vault, Egyptian capitals, designed like that. We have a small pool of water over here with some obelisks outside of an interesting structure. Not sure what that one is going to be yet. I have had to dispense with the canal system because of this the central palace here. I wanted to put that in. We'll take a look at that in a moment, but it interfered with the design too much, so I had to remove that. But the canal system is going to come back in that configuration, but it's going to be underground canals instead of on the surface, and that's how I'm going to handle that, because I do want to preserve that part of Cabelas, but it's just going to be underground instead. Over here we have another of the gatehouses. From the northernmost section of the Field of Bone, you can enter in the city here as well through this gateway. And we have a full colonnade over here on this side as well. We have two different capital designs. Here is the second one. And then that enters into this gatehouse over here. I haven't installed the redstone gateways yet. But on the other side of that, we have more pools of water, and we have also a grand vista I have arranged from this point of view here. And we have our central roadway. It goes off in that direction. But over here, if we stand, we have a nice pool of water that is being filled by these Ixar pharaoh statues. They're holding bowls of water, spilling in to the pool of water down here. Up here, as you can see, we have a rather large Ixar pharaoh statue. Some of you may recognize this as Ozymandias. Fully complete. Look on my works, ye mighty in despair, and all of that. He's not quite complete though. I had to retrofit him to be an Ixar, because the Ixar themselves, they're an Asarian reptilian race. So they have rather pronounced mandibles out here as well, and a couple of spikes along their heads. They also have a large tail, which has not yet been added to the back of the statue, so that's something else I need to do. But this here is a brand new statue design that I have recently made. And of course he's holding up a big redstone spear and everything here as well. And behind him here we have one of the ancillary entrances to the royal palace up there. we'll get to that in due time. Over here, you can see the selection of statues that I have arranged for the Ixar. I've tried to make all of their faces look like Ixar, but we only have a couple of blocks to play with, really. So there's only so much I could do with these, but these are going to be sprinkled all over Kunark. As remember, this is the ruins of Kunark, and they're all going to be done in this style, but Cabelas is pretty much going to be the only city on Kunark that is intact, and everything else is going to be a hopeless pile of ruins, but all done in the Egyptian style. And here we have a small pavilion back here. Haven't done much with that yet, just sort of put it together. And back here you can see the obelisk. This is the most recent tutorial I released on those. And I'm going to double back and do these statues at some point as well. Over here, if we continue this way, we have a gateway and a set of pylons. 2 large Ixar pharaoh statues seated on either side of those. But if we go through the gateway here, we will come to the central portion of the city. Take a moment to let you look around so you can get your bearings here. So we have a very large plaza here in the middle with a large pool of water in it, and another large standing Ixar pharaoh statue, just like the other one we had over there. We have a few pavilions and more statues and obelisks sprinkled around over here for decoration. We have a large building back there. It's going to be one of the guild halls. I'm not sure which one yet. Behind that, though, where he is facing, we have the main entrance to the Ixar Pharaoh's Palace right here. And as you can see, we have our very reminiscent of Abu Simbel. We have 4 large Ixar statues framing the main doorway. And behind that, as you can see, we have colonnaded pavilions on either side of those. And a very large sort of pyramidal structure up here, but it's got a place in here for something to be put. I'm not exactly sure yet. These designs aren't final. As with all my cities, I make several passes adding things. The first thing I did with Cabelas is I went around the perimeter and I added the walls. And then I started adding this central section in here. And then I slowly sprinkled around adding the obelisks and the statues and the roadways here as well. We've got a couple of main processional roadways that you can see that I've laid out. We have the main road over there, but there is a large east-west road that runs through the city here as well, which is the main section of the city. And in all these sections where there's just granite down there and empty space, this is all going to be crammed full with houses in the future. I do have most of those models already made, but I'm not ready to show them to you just yet. If we go over here to, I think is going to be West Cabelas, we will see the design for the city over here. This is a split level portion of the city. It's got that level up there and then a lower one down here. I like to work in some elevation to my cities when possible. Here we have an avenue of sphinxes on either side with 2 large standing Ixar pharaoh statues over there to give this design of the gateway a different style than the one over there in East Cabelas. Here we have some more simple colonnades. On this side of the gate we have some sitting very small Ixar pharaoh statues here. A couple of standing ones by the gateway. And over here for this other gateway, that pattern is reversed. We have the standing statues and then the seated ones. To just make that a little bit different here. And of course we got another gateway over here as well, which goes to the upper portion of West Cabelas. We have a small pool of water over here as well. Of course, this is the portion of the city that borders on the Lake of Ill-Omen over here. Somewhere down there in the depths of the water, we're going to be building the sunken city of Vexar, which is, of course, going to be another of the ruins on Kunark. Here we have another gateway. It's not done yet. I need to connect the road up to where this gateway actually is. Well, let's move around here. I think we're ready to take a look at the central section of the city. The Ixar Pharaoh's Palace up here. And this is very tentative. I'm still arranging things up here. We have a couple of pavement designs here, if you want to look at those real quick. Over here we do have a couple of large obelisks and a large pool of water. I think we're going to have a lot more pools of water in here as well. And after I have done all the details, I will come back and add in all of the palm trees that we're going to have here as well. So we have a nice little colonnaded space over here. I think we're going to put pools of water and gardens here. The central building, I think, is a very large pavilion. Partially open to the sky here because the Ixar, being reptiles, do love their sunlight. Place for them to stretch out and either lay in the sun or out of the sun if they're too hot. I think back here we're going to have the Ixar Royal Throne Room is going to be in this very large building here that is sort of rammed into the back of the mountains here. And let me zoom out so you can take this in. And we do have a nice pavilion up here at the top for the Emperor and his court to cool off. Up here in the cool mountains, you can come over here and take a look at the red mountains of Kunark. But as you can see, the city on this side is pretty much rammed up into the mountains here. For defensive purposes, there's no way you're going to get an attacking army either through the mountains to the north or the south. And to the west over there, of course, we have the Lake of Ill-Omen that protects the city. And to the east over here, of course, we have the Field of Bone on the other side as well. So Cabelas itself is quite well protected, being built in pretty much the center of the continent. Most of my other cities are built on the coast. And this one is also built by a large body of water itself. But for defensive purposes, this one is heavily defended with its many series of nested walls and everything to keep out any would-be invaders into Kunark, as the Ixar are attempting to rebuild and reestablish their empire that will once again in the future span the entire continent, or perhaps it will collapse and the whole city here will sink into the Lake of Ill-Omen. You never know what will happen on Kunark. It's quite a dangerous and unpredictable place. Indeed, this would be the third empire that would be established on Kunark, the first one being the ancient Shishar, which are the snake people, which are now extinct. And they enslaved the Ixar in the distant past. But once they were all gone, the Ixar picked up the pieces of what the Shishar had left behind and established their own empire after that, which in its turn has fallen to bits, except for the core lands here around Cabelas, which are attempting to be reestablished again for the second great Ixar empire. But time will tell if that happens or not. But I think that's probably going to be all the time we have for today. I hope you have enjoyed seeing the first look around Cabelas here. And most of these things that are here are going to be future Egyptian tutorials. So I'm going to be showing you how to make most of these things for yourself in your own worlds. But as I've said, we do have an entire continent to cover with this architecture, mostly in ruined state. But I think in the next episode, we will venture out of Cabelas. I think I want to go over and take a look back at the Dreadlands where we first started, because I've already put in a large pyramid there that we need to take a look at. And perhaps we can stop at Karnor's castle on the way, or perhaps go to Kern's tower, or perhaps back to the over there to take a look at what I want to build there as well. But I hope you're very excited for all the new architectural wonders we will be building in Norrath. And I would like to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.